Hello, I'm early today. Yeah, it's only 12:15 here. I just, I get the goo on me to do live streams when I get the goo on me, and it tends to be earlier in the day. So, this morning I woke up and it wasn't lashing rain out, but it looked like it was going to be on and off lashing rain all day. And I didn't go out for a jog, so I'm a bit earlier than usual getting to other things, because the jog involves the jog, then the wash, which takes another while. Then I go outside, and at the moment, I do a little bit of meditation. So then I come back in and breakfast. No breakfast before meditation, because I wouldn't be able to settle without a bit of breakfast. I'm usually ravenous at that stage. So all that takes ages. So that brings me up to 1, 2 o'clock. But today I'm really, really early. And it actually cropped up during a meditation today, this idea of transitions in art. And it's interesting because in meditation, sometimes people think of it as, if it's mindfulness meditation, they think of it as an emptying of your mind thing. But of course, you can never really empty the contents of your mind completely and be not thinking for very long, because your mind likes being active, and it's there to be used, and it doesn't work well if it's not being used. And if you were in some sort of a deprivation chamber, or all your senses were deprived from you, right? You weren't able to touch, smell, see, hear. You would start sort of hallucinating anyway. So you crack up if you can't think. So the idea is not really to stop thought. It's to just, you have a little thought, or a train of thoughts might arise. You just notice that you have them, kind of thing. So I noticed that I had this thought coming in today, and I thought, okay, I have to go on me now to do a live stream about that. And it has to do with art, because I have a little art project going at the moment that I'm going to be working on today. So I thought, well, I'll rabbit on about this topic and do some art. And I often do that kind of combination, because I like doing it, And sometimes in my art stream, I don't get loads and loads of art done because the focus isn't great, because I'm doing a live stream. But I do get something out of them, because there's something about art and sharing art that is a very fulfilling kind of a thing. And maybe some people just have that personality that with their art that they like sharing it. That's probably why I went into teaching art at one stage, or the money, one or the other. But I do like sharing ideas about art. And I wouldn't be somebody that talks about the sort of philosophy of art a lot, and don't really like talking about the making of art very much. But I'm sort of changing a bit like that, I think. And transitions, the topic of transitions is about change, isn't it? And interestingly, in meditation, there is, in kind of, I suppose, more the Indian schools of meditation, there are actual meditations that you do on impermanence or change. And that's kind of what I'm talking about today, because I'm talking about that in relation to art for artists. So I'm talking about a kind of an attitude to art, and where I am with it, basically, in my art as well. So you're getting kind of maybe an insight into how an artist is thinking while they're making things, and, everybody's going to be different. But I think this is a topic that is a good topic for any artist to think about, right? The idea of change or a transition in art. And you have seen me show a little illustration book that I've been working on, and I'll show it to you again in case anybody hasn't seen me on live stream before with this. I've been over on Twitch doing it as well, you see. And I'm just back on YouTube lately, and I must actually do a few more Twitch live streams. But this is the illustration notebook, and I'm not primarily an illustrator. I'm primarily a fine artist. But I had been getting interested in illustration and did a little. There was a particular technique I was interested in for fine art, and I ended up doing a little small illustration course to learn that technique, and then got really interested in the idea of illustration. So this sketchbook arose out of that desire to learn about that thing, right? And I'll just flick through it for anybody who hasn't seen it before. And you can see when I flick through this that I went through some transitions, changes while I was doing it, yeah? Because all the styles are very different on all the different pages. Oh, it's upside down. And I'm using different media. And the styles are changing as I'm going along. That one's nice because I just found a big spider outside in the hallway. Huge big spider going through a transition who's dead. And so all very different. All the pages very different. I'm sort of haven't found kind of a style that I'm sticking to. I'm going through transitions with it, haven't I? I'm kind of, I don't know that I'd say I'm even looking for an illustrator's style that is my style, but you do as an artist, you definitely get your own look or stuff that somebody familiar with your work would recognize your touch in it, you know what I mean? So there tends to be a little bit of consistency over the course of your work, right? Throughout your lifetime. You know, you don't suddenly turn into, it's like a personality thing. You don't suddenly turn into a completely different personality. So although these are all very different, somebody who was very familiar with my style, if you like, might come along later and say, no, I can see, you know, I can see her way of drawing or something coming through, you know, elements of your style coming through. Even though different media, lots of, oops, how did that do that? That was dry long ago. I've just torn a bit. I won't be that precious about the notebook though. I can stick it back in, but I'd freak out if that was a painting now because you want the paintings to be pristine. So there we are, lots of different styles going on, right? Impermanence. Why don't I want to develop a style and stick with it? Well, you kind of do want to develop a style in a way as an artist. But it's limiting, isn't it? Say you have a friend, right? And you've had a friend over the course of your life. Do you want your friend to be exactly the same person, predictable in every way over the course of your friendship for, you know, a lifetime of friendship? Is that interesting to have a friend like that? You know, do you just want somebody who goes, yes, I know what you mean all the time? Or do you want somebody who develops, grows, and changes? Because growth and transition go together. And change is in the nature of things, isn't it? And even yesterday, I was tweeting about this, that how pleased I was that I'd had this apple. That was the last apple on an apple tree that I had. And it's the first year I've gotten apples out of it. I think I had one apple last year and it was tiny and not really edible. And this year I had a few apples. And a lot of them were really small, but this one was the last one hanging in there, and it was a really decent size and everything. And I was really excited about it ripening. But I was also enjoying seeing it growing, and the apple was more exciting because it was a tree that I planted and has been growing years without producing apples because they can be slow to produce apples. So there's a growth towards maturity that they have to go through before they put out fruit at all. So that's a stage in a cyclical stage that apple goes through when you think about it, like all living things or anything on earth, that it has to go through this coming to fruition, fading away, and then things start again because it rots down. You know, if that apple dropped, I didn't eat it, it rots down into the earth and it gets recycled one way or another, whether I eat it or not. It gets recycled in a sense, and it's got the seeds as well, hasn't it? So I'll put up, you'll be able to see my apple because I'll put it up as the thumbnail for this painting, because I have the picture on Twitter, and it's actually got this painting in the background. I'll be doing things to this painting today, so I'll start doing a little bit of that as I'm yakking. But yeah, that's in the nature of things, that they go through these transitions, and I saved the seeds out of that to see, can I get more apple trees growing out of it? And you get funny little hybrids out of them. They won't necessarily breed true or anything. So while the apple was absolutely delicious, I think it was a Braeburn. I have a Caucasus Pippin and a Braeburn, and I always get mixed up which tree is which. But I think that's the Braeburn, because I particularly found the Braeburns. They have a very slightly sour taste off them, incredibly juicy and full of taste, you know. But it was the prettiest apple as well. Wait till you see the thumbnail. It's so beautiful. So yeah, the seeds, I put them in the fridge on a piece of tissue paper, wet in a bag, and in 6 weeks' time, with the cold of the fridge, they need a shot of cold, and then they should start to germinate. And I can get that apple growing into another little tree and everything. And I like that. I like the whole cycle of it. And I like that with people as well, that you don't, if you meet the same person after some years, you don't necessarily meet the same person. Aspects of them could be the same. Aspects of them could have changed, shifted, altered, grown, stagnated. You know, all sorts of things could have happened. Paintings are like that as well. And my painting's gone through huge changes because of all the illustration stuff I've been doing. And like a painting like that would have been more my sort of oeuvre, if you like, an oil painting, traditional approach in oils, you know. But the illustration thing opened me up to a lot more experimentation. And I think that this year, coming into winter, when I'm painting more indoors, I've got the goo on me to do oil painting again. So I think the changes and transitions that I've gone through in the art, I think that they will affect the painting a lot as well. Bound to, and they're already affecting it. And I'm doing things with this painting that I wouldn't have necessarily done before. And I'm going to show you the sort of thing that I'm doing with it, because this painting started out as a little small piece. I hope that's not too bright. I feel that the color is very washed out on my screen today. It tends to be better on OBS, but I don't have OBS linked up with YouTube. So this small piece, hopefully you can see it in this light. It's done in paints that I was showing you these paints on the last live stream. And this is interesting because in terms of transitions, these are paints that transition a bit in color anyway. These are powdered pigments that I'm mixing up. And I have one in an acrylic that is an iridescent, but these are all iridescent paints. And I have been using them in this way. I just have them covered at the moment to stop them blowing all over the place. But I had been using them with acrylics, right, and ink and watercolor as well, actually, on paper, and was enjoying the iridescence of them. And started doing something. I can't remember what this painting was going to be originally, but it just started looking like an underwater scene. And I started turning it into that. I normally wouldn't have been that free with the painting. If I was going from start to finish with the painting, I'd plan the painting out. But these are pieces that were for an illustration notebook. So it's a lot freer and more experimental with them. So for getting new transitions in your art towards new ways of working, it was wonderfully freeing doing this illustration notebook, you see, because I wasn't uptight about experimenting and was really enjoying this iridescent paint experimentation. And I think I turned it into an underwater thing because the little flashes of iridescence made me want to do something about reflectivity of water and things like that. But as little meditations in themselves, they were wonderful too, because you have to sit there while doing them and be very open to the idea that they mightn't work, that they're experiments, right? So I had been listening to a lot of Zen stuff, and I do a lot of reading on Buddhism, but I don't read as much on Zen as I used to read on Indian Buddhism. And they're very practical in a lot of ways, I think. It's a very practical way of thinking, approaches to problem solving, really. And one approach to problem solving that they have that's very useful to artists is the idea that you sit there with something when you're painting and you don't worry about the end result, what it's going to look like, or even particularly what it looks like now, that it's a little bit like, that little Star Trek guy that's a little guru guy, and I don't even know his name because it's so long since I've seen the film, but the guy with the little ears, you're always seeing him turning up on Twitter. People put him in GIFs all the time. There is no try, is the quote they always put in the GIFs. And it's the same with this approach to art, that there is no try because it's not aiming to achieve anything as an end result. It is the experimentation itself and being in the moment with it. That's the important bit of it, you see. And that's very Zen-like. And that allows for not just experimentation, but for transitions and changes to happen. Because part of the thing that stops your art from developing in new directions is fear that it won't work, right? And you could be doing something like, for example, with this one, I started the other night sticking things on, and I'm so enjoying this, but it might never have happened, right? Because in the first one, I started tentatively throwing a bit of glitter in sections of it, and then I liked it a lot because when I painted over that glitter, it made other kinds of marks, and unexpected things happened. And I was in the spirit of experimentation, right? So on this one, I said, I'd like to do a bigger piece from that. On the last live stream, I was talking about how I was going to stick paper, start working on paper, and then stick it to this board. And I was going to kind of fool my mind by letting go of a bit of a panic about was it going to work out well or not, by finishing the piece first, then sticking it down. And I decided against that because the piece kept bending up. So I got to a certain stage of the piece and said, hell, I don't care anymore. I'm just sticking it down, working on it and seeing what happens. So it's about letting go of the fear that this piece isn't going to work out, right? And experimenting anyway. So now, you see, we can have fun, and we have the opportunity for something to possibly grow, develop, or influence the way I work. Whereas before, when it was all shut down about kind of, oh, the finished piece, I visualize it looking like this, and I want to get it to look something in a way that impresses me or that looks like I'm the observer of that as a piece of art, and as an observer of the piece of art say, oh, that's a really good piece of art. I'm letting go of those ideas about what is art and everything, and saying, okay, in this piece I want to have fun, and I have a rough idea of what's going on in the piece and everything and what it's about. But within that, I'm going to just do what I feel like doing. I'm not sort of think, oh, I want to make it look experimental. I'm not thinking that. I'm saying I'm just going to see what happens. And because I had worked on the illustration notebook and had already become a lot more open to the idea of experimenting, and a lot more comfortable with the idea that, okay, I could be producing work which, to me, doesn't fit my expectations. And I don't know when that's phase or whatever, or transition, is going to stop, whether it's going to stop or not. But am I enjoying myself? Yeah, I'm enjoying myself. So I'm going to keep going, and I'm learning things and growing, you see, as an artist through learning, because you're learning in art, you're growing. So I let go of worry about the finished piece. And as a result, I've had some pieces that when finished, I was pleased with, and a lot of stuff that when finished, I wasn't pleased with. But I wake up, and on days that I'm painting or making some sort of art, I'm excited about doing it. So you see, I'll keep doing it. I won't get sick of it that way. So basically what's happening with this one, right? And I'm just showing you my technique, is that how I'm actually opening the top of this with my teeth. Because this is a craft glue, and I've changed over from a different kind of glue that I was using to using this, because I had interesting stuff I was sticking on it, and I loved this. This is craft materials I had from jewelry making, and actually these things didn't work well for me, because when I tried to stick them down with different glues into little pendants that I was making, they were affecting. I had little tiny lace things I was making, and they were discoloring the lace. But I kept them. I always keep these things in stock. So this was stuck on because I liked the idea. I was originally thinking of jellyfish, right? But when I saw these things, I had a little drawer of various bits of beads and sequins and things. These are going on today. I saw this and I thought, oh, that's interesting. Put it on the painting and thought, oh, this is lovely, because it's like a beautiful little mirror, a mirror into it, a distortion mirror. And also is a light reflective thing. And you see, that whole painting is about light. It's going to be about light. And I had said with that painting that was a painting. It's kind of a night painting in a way, because I wanted to look as interesting at night time, and even maybe come to life more at night time when you look at it. Because with the iridescence and the glittery bits, that when you turn on lights at night time, it glitters and seems to move and glows a little bit in bits. So that is a nice thing for holding light as well, the way the light shines into it. So it's starting to go there already. It picks up the light subtly during the day because the iridescence, and I've noticed that at night, the light moves differently on it. So I'll probably do some sessions working on it at night. But today, what I'm going to do is come along like this. And you won't see me do much work on it today. I'm just kind of talking about experimentation and the importance of it. So the sort of work that I'm doing today on it would include, and I'm not really thinking out where I'm putting this, but I'll show you how I'm doing it. It includes doing things like sticking on these little guys. And you see, you take your time doing that, and you do something like this with nice relaxing music on. You've then got, and in fact, I should have had I do have one nearby. Oh, yeah, there. You've got yourself a very, very relaxing kind of a meditation session where you're just open to whatever happens. And that'll be all painted up around, you see. I'll build up around that slightly, so it'll be a mix between something sculptural and painting. But while I'm doing it, I won't worry about it. I'll just enjoy looking at it and seeing it as a thing that's happening in front of me, and I'm participating in that happening. So the idea is to stay as relaxed as possible while that is happening, and that facilitates the painting transitioning into something. And it's changing all the time anyway. It's like the subject matter of this painting is about change, because it's got all these little fish in it and seaweed moving and water all moving and glittering. And yeah, you're trying to paint that in a thing that's still. It's a still snapshot of a moment, but a painting is not a still snapshot of a moment. It's a gathering of lots of different moments put down by your mind, you see, and all the moments that you spend when you're painting something, adding to it and everything. Those moments all get woven into the fabric of it. And I might do things like, I'll just show you something I got. And this is kind of fun. I need a plate for this. To show you what it is, because it is a lovely plate of seaweed. I went specially and got this. And actually, the container this is in, it's not the best container because I wanted something see-through that I could, I have seaweed attached to a rock on the bottom as well. And I wanted the seaweed to be able to float around in it so I could see how it floats and everything, and really get into looking at the structure of that for painting it in, because I have a whole section here that's seaweed. So I can use this and everything, but this is going to stimulate my interest and imagination more, but also tie it down to real world stuff. So I'm not just making up in a fuzzy kind of way. It's based on real structure, But that's part of the experience as well, going and getting that, and the wonderful smell of seaweed and everything. And, having that built into part of the experience of making the painting, And then other things come into it, like I was cutting this pepper yesterday and I thought, ooh, that is a wonderful structure there for building into. I was looking for texture to do over here that related to the way it's like underwater lichen nearly type of seaweed grows on rocks, and that kind of relates to it. And that reminded me then to get out these tiny little golden beads that I have. They're going to go on it as well. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sit around and do stuff like this and get into doing that. But so some of the pattern in it is going to be built up. The beads, there's going to be paint built up, more paint as well. So I want to get a lot of texture going on in this. They have to go on their sides. That's the only thing. They don't catch the light properly unless they're... So that was from the inspiration of that thing. I'm getting inspiration from real world observations of things. Looking for the pattern in things, you say, to make the structure. And I don't know if that might or mightn't work out. I'm not sure, will it? I might have had to put paint down first and then push it into the paint. I don't know. But I probably get the oil paints out for this as well. You can paint over acrylics and watercolor with oil, but not the other way around. So once I start into oils, I'm committed to oils, and oils look a little bit different. So I want to do all the watery things first. So that's going to be some of that. There are also little mark making things I'm going to do. I discovered a nice mark making way of doing things with the top of a straw that I like as well. I did some bubble effects with that towards the surface of the water there that I liked, and I thought, oh, I'm going to use that more. So an hour or two of focus on doing that would be extremely enjoyable. And throughout the whole thing, you're becoming very fluid as well in changing, you're having a little transition because, to get into the Zen thing again, the idea of you as a stable, fixed kind of a person or personality goes a lot with Zen because you're not aware of yourself in that way. You're just... everything's moving together. You say when I'm painting, me, the painting, the music, everything around me, a fly buzzing by, we're all moving together and we're all a very fluid, dynamic thing when you're open to the moment, you see, and what's happening in the moment. And so like when I'm working on this painting, when I'm in the flow of it, I'm literally just in the painting and I'm underwater and, swimming around, doing my favorite thing, snorkeling around there and being underwater and swimming with all the fish and going through all the seaweed and everything. And it's so enjoyable. And all you have to do is let go of the idea of being a good artist, of having a piece that's people are going to admire when it's finished, because some of those ideas are keeping you bound to expectations which aren't terribly helpful in what's actually going on in that actual moment. And what's actually going on in the moment when you're working on something is you're just putting a bead there, you're reaching for a paintbrush, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's not about what's happened afterwards, what people are going to think about afterwards. It's not about what happened before. It's only about that moment, what's happening in that moment. And that's what's so interesting about it. There is no other moment than that moment. You get me? So nothing outside it. Other thoughts will come in, thoughts will come to your mind and everything, just the way they do in meditation. But you go, oh, look, there's a thought. There's a thought about, oh, I hope it looks nice when it's finished. You drop that thought and you just get back in the moment and do it. And it's beautiful, and it makes painting so interesting. And it is for anybody who's be ever gotten in the flow of painting, they'll get it. They'll get what I'm talking about. And it's very relevant to this idea of transition or change, because it's a state in which you're just going with the flow. You're changing every second. You're changing your ideas about what you should be doing with it. I'll add this to it. Oh, I'll take that away. I don't like that. Oh, So you're still making judgments and using judgments about things, but you're very open to change and changing your mind and changing possibly your whole way of working. You don't know, but you're letting go of a lot of the fear about painting and producing good work and everything then, which conversely can actually help you make little breakthroughs. So it can be nerve-wracking at first to do it, but once you get used to doing it, it's so pleasurable that you don't mind. You go, hey, I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm experimenting. It's a lot of fun. I'm having great fun. So I don't mind that my work is changing all the time. And it's good. It's very healthy for art. And it helps you not to get stuck with something that works. We do tend to want to go there sometimes. We do tend to say, well, doing this picture of water and underwater. I know I did a tree this way once, and that way of doing a tree might work for this seaweed. So I'm going to generalize about this piece of seaweed and do it the way I did the tree, because everybody said that tree was very impressive. You see what I mean? You're actually not doing that. You're going, okay, let's see what I'm looking at. And let's react to what I'm looking at. So you and the painting are just kind of digging each other and working with each other, back and forth, a lovely dialogue that you're having with the painting. And it's very exciting and nice. And you just have to be willing to let go in order for that, those changes and transitions that are happening all the time. No moment is exactly like another moment, you see. And you're just in there swimming around with the painting, having a lot of fun. So whatever way you paint, I hope you have moments when you're in the flow and really digging it, and always having fun with your painting, and that's how you learn and you explore, and not to worry too much, if you're going through any kind of transitional phase or anything. Because I could get all worried about this. I could say, oh my God, I don't know where my painting is going. Where am I going? Is it, it doesn't look like my painting anymore. Am I getting too far away from my style? You could get caught up in all that number, but it's boring. That number is very boring. So go the fun direction is what I say. Go the fun direction, see what happens. And I think you will build on your skill no matter what happens. Even if I'm sitting here and if I decide like bits of string dipped in ink look more like the seaweed than the paint does, I have the freedom to do that, you see. And then, if that didn't work, it was fun having a go at it, wasn't it? So I'm going to sit here sticking on beads for a few hours to wait for them to dry, and then go in with more painting, and I might do some drawing of seaweed and everything. And I'll have some nice music playing in the background as well. So that's my next couple of hours. I do have other, when I get onto oil paints, I have other media that I'm going to use with it. That one there has only just arrived. I did an unboxing on the last live stream, and this was an exciting unboxing yesterday. It wasn't on a live stream, but it was exciting for me because I've been waiting for this stuff for over a month. I ordered it over a month ago, and it's an acrylic gloss medium, which I had been using with other art materials before, but might use in with the oil paint for, the next kind of layer of this painting. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay, so have fun with your art, whatever you're doing, and be willing to embrace transitions. All you have to do is let go of fear of things a little bit, relax down into it, stay in the moment, and then before you know it, you're right in the flow of it. Have fun and enjoy whatever arty thing you do. Everything's art at the end of the day. You could call anything art. Bye.